Joe Biden won Wisconsin by just 21,000 votes 4 years ago. So naturally, it's a crucial swing state this time round too. Rob Mentzer is a reporter for Wisconsin Public Radio, and he joins me now. Rob, we just been having a discussion there about the role, the abortion issue and how it might be playing out in this campaign. Are women's rights energizing voters in Wisconsin to vote for Kamala Harris?
Yeah, I think that is that definitely is what we see now. Wisconsin specifically, I think the experience in Wisconsin is interesting here. So Wisconsin had a law on the books from 1849 that was a total ban on abortions with no exceptions. That was a law that, as long as Roe v. Wade was the federal law, was not in effect. But the day that the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, Wisconsin's 1849 law took effect. So what you saw was a right that people expected, that had been a part of people's lives for decades, taken away in one day, and public opinion really swung as a result of that. And so I do think Wisconsin's experience specifically there of despite being sort of a swing state, a purple state, going from having a legal abortion to having one of the nation's most restrictive abortion laws, really did a lot of people who maybe were on the fence or had a mixed view of that did not like that when that happened and reacted against it.
Just quick, because I do want to move on to the actual election, but just on the abortion issue, has Wisconsin yet had either action in the state legislature or a referendum to create its own state abortion laws after the Supreme Court knocked down Roe v. Wade? Has that, or are you still back in that 1840s law?
Yeah, so the 1849 law, a judge's decision has suspended that for now. So abortions have resumed in a limited fashion in Wisconsin, but it has not been through legislative action. It wasn't a referendum. It's just we're just sort of waiting on this legal case to play out. Yeah.
Okay. Right. Let me start. The latest Wisconsin poll of polls has Trump on 48% and Harris on 47.8%. It's even closer than Biden's 49.6 to 48.9 victory, which is what was a margin of 0.7 percentage points in 2020. I mean, on that poll of polls, Wisconsin is even more of a toss-up than it was 4 years ago.
Well, and you have to remember as well that 4 years ago, the polls were showing that Biden was ahead by maybe 5 points or 7 points.
4 points. On this very day, he was ahead by 4.6%. And Hillary Clinton was ahead by 6.5%, and she lost.
Sure, right, and Biden barely won, right? So we have seen polling errors. So definitely the way to understand Wisconsin is like very much a toss-up that could go either way. And it's also worth saying in 2022, the polls overestimated the Republican candidate for Wisconsin governor, and the Democrat ended up winning. Wave. So the polling error can go either way, but it just means that for all we know, Wisconsin could very plausibly go to either candidate.
A lot of people are saying that now that not much will change in the next 2 weeks. There's no, as things stand, you can't really see any other issue coming forward that will really change the dynamic, move the dial of the campaign. And it will come down to getting the vote out in the states. Now, how would you compare the get the vote out capacities of the Democrats in Wisconsin to the same capacities of the Republicans in Wisconsin?
Sure. So it's a bit hard to know, but to the extent that I have a window into this, I think that the Democrats have the better ground game. A thing to remember is that Democrats really didn't do a lot of sort of door knocking or in-person campaigning in 2020. due to the pandemic, Republicans did that year. And so that is no longer the case at all. Like Democrats have really poured resources into rural areas in the state where they got clobbered last time, and other sorts of organizing efforts. And the Republican effort, it's like there's been a lot of reporting on this. It's been largely outsourced to these third party groups, Elon Musk's group and others.
And Turning Point and so on. Yeah.
Right. And it looks like they are not as efficient. They are not as good at it. That is sort of like just like literally the number of people who've come to my door or people that I have seen. That is my experience. And that's what sort of the reporting suggests. However, and again, like, it's not like Trump had an incredibly efficient, well-organized get out the vote campaign in 2016 or 2020, and still a lot of people voted for it. And there's a lot of people who are very committed.
I understand. Rob, we better leave it there because I've got to go to Michigan now. But Rob Mensa there in Wisconsin, thanks for marking our card. Let's head a little bit east now, across Lake Michigan to the state of Michigan itself. In 2020, Joe Biden won it by about 150,000 votes. It's got a bigger population than Wisconsin. Zach Gorchow is editor of Gongwar, Michigan. It's a local news service. Zach, Biden won Michigan by almost 3 percentage points. But Trump is now marginally ahead in the poll of polls, and it is marginal, 48.8, 47.6. But even though it's marginal, that's got to worry the Harris campaign a bit, is it not?
Oh, I think so. And you're seeing the Harris campaign has really ramped up its in-person visits in Michigan of late. You know, if you looked at September, Vice President Harris wasn't here that much, but Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, the Republican vice presidential nominee, were. It felt like one of them was in the Michigan every week. And we really finally, I think, in the last week to 10 days, have started to see the Harris campaign try to match that. Kamala Harris visited 3 different cities in Michigan on Friday. Trump and Vance continue to be here. And, you know, even though I'd say Michigan is definitely very similar to the discussion on Wisconsin, just a complete toss-up right now, there's still structurally a bit of a Democratic advantage.
I would have thought maybe even more worrying than the poll of polls was that on this day, this very day on 2020, Biden was almost 8 points ahead. But of course, he won by a lot less, under 3 percentage points. Hillary Clinton was 12 points ahead on this day in 2016, and she lost. I mean, are we right in thinking that for the Democrats to win, they should have on the day, they need a kind of like a bigger margin in the polls, because the polls might overestimate the vote the Democrats will get?
Well, I don't think so, because Michigan polling has sort of a notorious track record of missing the mark and failing in both directions. You know, in 2012, it underestimated what President Obama's victory margin would be. It was projecting a close race. He ended up winning by 10 points. You mentioned, you know, Hillary Clinton was supposed to beat Bernie Sanders in the Democratic primary here in 2016 by 20 points. She lost.